Hello chess friends and welcome to Yozarov's chess channel and welcome to my King's Indian Defense series. So in this series I'm going to show you a very strong opening against d4. So today I'm going to show you the part 39 and I'm going to show you how to play against this very annoying berry attack. The berry attack is a strong opening line against your King's Indian, because white is playing, as I like to call it, this simple healthy chess with the fast development and with this early flank attack sometimes. So I wanted to show you how I should react against these flank attack ideas, and how you can avoid getting checkmated in an early stage of the game, because this berry attack is really an attack on your king after you have castled. So you have to react correctly in this opening. If you don't, well, as I said, you will get crushed very easily. But there is this basic principle in chess which you should know, which says if your opponent attacks you on the flanks, you should counterattack him in the center. And I want to really memorize this really important principle in chess, because in this games that I'm going to show you, this principle is very important. So let's see now this very aggressive berry attack setup. So we have here d4, knight on f6, and now knight on f3 by white, a simple developing move. Now g6, and now knight on c3. You see, as I said, white is playing simply this healthy chess with the fast development, with the two knights out, and with a very nice control of the center. And here we have a preparation for white to play the move e4. In order to prevent it, here I recommended the move d5. So here, bishop on f4, again a developing move. You see white is not gonna push here too many pawns in the center, so here he leaves the center. So far so good. Now of course we play our standard bishop on g7, King's Indian move, and now e3 by white. Here we have castling, and again bishop on e2. This is now this berry attack setup. I really wanted to memorize it. You see white has brought out all of his minor pieces. Now he has this flexible position. He can also sometimes stay with the king in the center, and he can also castle here kingside, but he can also castle queenside here. So he has a very flexible position, and the basic idea is here for white to play the move knight on e5, and then after that h4, h5, because this knight on e5 would really liberate this very strong diagonal for the queen and the bishop. And after white trades maybe somehow this h-pawn on g6, well, white is gonna try to trade off the bishops here on h6, and maybe after that bring somehow the queen through this f3, or maybe h3 on the h file, and together with the rook try to checkmate you on the h file. Try sometimes out this line. See some games, you see that this berry attack is really a strong attack, and there are lines maybe to play c6 or maybe knight from f to d7, and then with f6 and e5 preparations to break in the center. But I think these lines are really too slow. Here I recommend you this most aggressive line with the move c5, because we know that white's gonna try his flank attack. We are simply counterattacking in the center, so it has to be, of course, sort of a preparation for you at home sometimes, because you have to know in which setups white's gonna try this flank attack. So you see, with this, of course, with this very good preparation, we know that in this berry attack white's gonna really try this flank attack, and of course we want immediately counterattack in the center. So here after c5, you see white will simply play knight on e5, and now we again play simply on the center with the move knight on c6, really challenging now white in the center. And now white can try his flank attack. And here I wanted to show you a game. It was played by Jovana Vojinovic against Alexei Shirov, and I've explained this game in my basics in chess series, and I'll show you the link of that video in this video, of course. I've explained it as this strategical idea of playing this central counter attack against this early flank attack, and I've really covered this game. But again, I wanted to show you this game because I think it's a very instructive game in which Alexei Shirov shows all of his chess potential. So here, after h4, here we have c takes d4 by Shirov, e takes d4, and now queen on b6. You see, again, we are playing simply on the central attack. You see, we have now attacked this d4 pawn, and now knight on c6. That's why, and we have here queen on c6. So you see, we have at least we get rid of one of these annoying attackers, because the knight was very well placed on this e5 square and had a really nice control of the center. So that's why we get at least rid of one of these attackers. So here Jovan Vojinovic played h5. Of course, as I said, this is this main idea for white here, to open somehow the h file and trade off the dark square bishops and creating checkmates on the h file. So that's why here knight on e4, an important move, which again is really challenging now white to do something. So here knight on e4, and now we have d takes e4. So this leads now into some simplifications, because now we get rid of two more pieces, and now white doesn't have so many attackers, and of course it's easier to defend against this very fast attack by white. But you see now White's problem is that he has the king in the center and he has to do something. So here queen on d2, maybe with the preparation to castle even queenside, but again with this double function here, again to create this battery on this very annoying diagonal, and trade off the bishops on h6, and of course creating, as I said, this checkmate threats on the h file. So that's why we again counter attack in the center. So you see, we are now attacking this d4, and the only move for white here is c3. So now, of course, again e5, again with this center attack, because we want to be, if you don't play fast on this attack, well, as I said, you will be crushed, because the king can sometimes go here on this f1 and hide from your central attack. So of course we want to be fast on our central counter attack. So bishop on g5 was played, and now Alexei Shirov finds a very strong idea. He plays e takes d4, leaving here the rook hanging. Bishop takes on d8 was played, and now d takes c3. Of course, b takes c3 cannot be played, because you'll get bishop takes on c3 with this pin on the queen, and of course white will lose the queen. So that's why here queen on d1 played by Jovan Vojinovic, and now very strong move, c takes b2. Now the rook has to react. Rook on b1, bishop on e6 was played, and this pawn will be in the game really annoying for white. So now h takes g6, we have h takes g6, and now bishop on g5. So now bishop takes on a2. So again, you see, we attack the rook. Now white castles here kingside, because he has to connect now the pieces. He wants to trade off as many pieces as he can, because you see, black has 3 pawns here on the queen side, and it's hard for the rook here to defend against the 3 pawns. So here you see Alexei Shirov played simply forward with his pawns. He wants to connect them on the 6th and on the 3rd, pardon me, and the 2nd rank. So here bishop on e3, and now a4, we have bishop on d4, bishop takes on d4, queen takes on d4, and now finally Alexei Shirov took out the rook. Here on b1 we have rook takes on b1, and now queen on c1, challenging the queen to go back on the 1st rank. We have queen on d1, queen takes on d1, bishop takes on d1, and now a3, here bishop on b3, here we have a2, bishop takes on a2, rook on a2, and now the king has to go, of course, on the second rank because the threat was rook on a1. And I'm not gonna show you the whole game, but you see it's obvious that black has here 5 pawns against 2 pawns, and of course a winning endgame. So let's see now another game, another instructive game. It was played by Juan Aguado Martorell against Weiming Goch. Weiming Goch with the black pieces here, and here again let's see this berry attack setup by white. d4, knight on f6, knight on f3, g6, knight on c3, d5, bishop on f4, bishop on g7, e3, castling, bishop on e2, and now c5. Again now h4. So here white didn't play this knight on e5, but he again played on this very fast attack on h4, and now knight on c6 again. Here we have queen on d2, because now white is trying simply to castle queenside and continue with this very fast attack. But here I recommend you again the same move. Well, it's of course in different move order, but here again knight on e4. You see, we want to trade off this knights and open somehow the d file. If the d file is open, then we can trade off the queens, and of course these checkmate threats don't work if the queens are off the board. So white's gonna try, of course, to stay with the queens on the board, but our strategical idea is to simply trade off the queens and get rid of this very annoying attack on this h6 possibility, and of course continue the game with this very nice development, which we have of course very well played, because you see we haven't played here nothing wrong so far, but you have to know this main ideas in this berry attack, or as I said, this attack can be so fast. I really would love for you to see some games in this berry attack against the king's Indian, some winning games for white, how effective this opening can be. So here knight on e4, we have d takes e4, and now knight on g5, and of course c takes d4, e takes d4, and now you see queen on d4. We want to get rid of the queens. We don't want to play with the queens on the board. If we could trade off the queens, we have solved all of our problems. So now c3 by white, and now queen on a4. So now you see black decides here that he can play after potential queenside castle. He can of course take the pawn on a2. So that's why here b3 by white. Here we have queen on a5, and now b4. And now again black plays on this principle of this counter attack in the center, again with the move e3. So you see now white has also to react, so he took out with the bishop, and now we have queen on a3 attacking this very weak c3 pawn. So you see, queenside castling is not an option now for white. Of course white has a more endangered king here in this position, although white created this fast attack. But you see now white is really lacking of an attack, because you see you still need many moves here with h4, h5, maybe h takes g6, well, then get the knight out of this diagonal, bishop on h6. So many moves. Meanwhile, we can play simply on the development, and here white has also to play another defensive move with rook on c1. So here bishop on f5, very strong on the best diagonal, of course, that we can place the bishop here, the slide square bishop, and of course with the preparation to play rook on this very nice open file, the d file. So here again white tried here this kingside castle. So you see with his move c5, with his counter attack in the center, white didn't gain what he wanted. He didn't create this fast attack, and but it can also be sometimes tricky when white does that with this move h4, and then you play immediately this move c5. Well, of course he can sometimes also simply castle kingside, and try to play maybe after d takes c5 on this one pawn up. But I'll show you this d takes c5 in my future videos. Let's now continue this game. Now we have rook from f to d8, attacking the queen, of course. Queen on e1. You see the queen doesn't have good squares at all on this board. Now it's on e1, it's on a really weird square. So now we have queen takes on e2. Black simply took out the pawn. Now black can simply play active with the queen, because you see, while white has castled here kingside, now we don't have this threats here on the h file. White's not gonna probably play h5 and h takes g6 and creating checkmate threats on the h file, because you see the rook is now here on the f file. So here we have b5 by white, knight on e5, rook on a1, and now queen on b3, bishop on d4, h6, knight on h3, and now bishop takes on h3. You see g takes h3. Now the king side is really weak here for white. We have here this double pawn situation. These pawns are really weak around the king. Too much room here around the king. So of course black has here obviously a better position. Rook takes on d4, a very nice move. C takes d4, and now queen on h3. You see white is simply too crushed here. He doesn't have any counterplay. If he takes here the pawn, the knight on e5, well, you get then bishop takes on e5, and it's hard for you to defend it, because you have to play f4, but you get the bishop on d4, and you have to put your rook here maybe on f2. But now this other rook can also come into the game, and you have possibilities to play the queen on g3. So you see very annoying stuff here for white to handle. So of course that's why here after we had queen on d1 by white, preventing this knight somehow to play maybe on g4. But of course the other rook comes on d8. We have queen on c1, and now rook takes on d4. You see now the rook is threatening here to take on h4. So we have here queen on e3, queen takes on h4, rook takes on a7, now rook on e4, queen on g3, and now very nice move. Rook takes on e2. If the queen takes now the h4, which what happened in the game, you have here knight on f3 with a fork on the king and the queen. King on h1. Now the knight took on h4. Rook takes on b7. Knight on f5. Rook on b1. Rook takes on f2. Rook on d7. Bishop on d4. b6, and now knight on g3 with this very annoying check. King on g1, and now rook on f1, which is a very nice move, because white has to trade. White is under double check here, so he has to play here king on g2, and this is the position in which white resigned, because of course black will simply take out the rook and has a completely winning endgame. So I hope you realize this idea in this berry attack. So let's go back here a little bit. So here after in this setup, I recommend you the move c5. As I said, in my future videos I'm gonna show you if your opponent takes here d takes c5, or if he plays this maybe annoying move knight on b5. These are the common lines in the berry attack. So I'm gonna show you the correct answers to this kind of attacks. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Meanwhile, of course, you can watch my other King's Indian videos. I've created so far 40 videos in this King's Indian. If you want to study it, try it out. Of course, I think it's a very nice opening against d4. And you can also watch my hyper accelerated Dragon Sicilian defense videos if you have troubles while playing against e4. And of course, guys, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks you for watching, and chess is the best, of course.